take to get a deal done? Joining me right now to talk more about it is the man himself from Washington. Good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congressman, let me ask you a question here. We just had Congressman Barney Frank on, and he said that he would like to see big spending cuts on the two wars, and the defense industry really needs to be slashed. Is that what would you vote yes on that?
No, you know what? We're winding down the wars right now, and they're already coming out. In fact, if you look at Reid's bill, of the $2.2 trillion he has in savings, $1 trillion of that is from the war savings. That's already happening. That's some of our frustration with the Reid bill. He says it's $2.2 trillion in savings. It's really $1.2 trillion in savings because we're assuming the war is already winding down and should be. So that's already happening.
I see. Okay. So you basically are saying the Reid plan comes up with cuts, but they aren't really cuts because it's something that you had already baked into your expectations. Now, Congressman Frank called the Boehner Plan irrational. What else do you think should be balanced in this plan? And what do you say to the fact that he said the plan is irrational?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the irrational part. Let's see. The spending cuts that are in it were agreed upon in the Biden group, so that's where that came from. The Special Select Committee came from Senator Reid in last weekend's negotiations with the Speaker. Balanced budget amendment to the Constitution is in there that we'll have a vote on that. 80% of Americans want to see a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, and statutory caps are in there for the next 10 years, the same as what we did with the Graham balanced budget, or the Graham piece back 15 years ago that worked very well, that gave us a balanced budget time period in the 90s. So I don't know which of the four of those are irrational, since two of those came from Democrats and two of those came from us that we already know are things that American people really want or have worked.
So you say that many critics of the Boehner Plan haven't even read it.
No.
Are you referring to your own party, the Tea Party supporters?
Well, there are some people that I've had call me from my home district and say, hey, don't vote for the Boehner Plan. And I typically ask them, what have you heard? And what they hear is there's only $7 billion in cuts in the very first year. And I say, yes, look at the whole bill and the whole proposal, because the focus for us as Republicans in the House, especially those of us that are freshmen, from the very beginning, all the numbers in Washington all move around. They do constantly. We're trying to say enough is enough. We want to get real systemic reforms in what's going on and not these goofy number games. So that's a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. That is the major focus for this. And then also statutory caps that we know we're going to start limiting spending. So for at least the next 10 years, we know we're going to start getting a downward trajectory. They're not these over-the-top cuts are being portrayed as. In fact, I heard the White House spokesman yesterday saying it's more draconian than even the Ryan plan. And I look at it and think, read the bill, because you'll find out it's absolutely not. In fact, I'd love it if the cuts lined up with the Ryan plan, but they don't. They're not that steep. They line up with the Biden plan.
So, Congressman, where is the room for compromise here? I mean, do you feel like your party is overreaching by saying you can't have any revenue because you can't raise taxes at all? Is that an overreach in this toxic environment?
Yeah, here's what I think would be a really terrible idea. Take all the job creators that are left in our economy and let's tax them more. So let's find the people that are actually creating the jobs and let's punish them, so then we'll have no job creators. That's a terrible idea in our economy. The Affordable Care Act added $1 trillion in new taxes over the next 10 years, starting in 2013. The president's plan is to add another $1 trillion on top of that $1 trillion in that same year in 2013. So hopefully when the economy is starting to lift off, we drop $2 trillion in taxes right on it during that time period. No one can tell me that's a rationally good idea unless you're just making sound bites. And on top of that, we have $10 trillion in projected deficits over the next 10 years, and $1 trillion doesn't fix it. In fact, the oil company hit he keeps talking about is $10 billion. The corporate jet piece is $3 billion. That does not solve the problem. Maybe good rhetoric, it may make for a nice commercial. I don't want a good rhetoric. I want to solve the problem, and that's what needs to be the focus of this.
Well, I've got to tell you, it really hasn't been good rhetoric, because I'm listening to my viewers on email, on Twitter, who are writing into CNBC, and they feel that the country is more divided than it ever has been. And dividing people by saying corporate jets and millionaires and billionaires
Absolutely.
And targeting certain groups of people, really, I mean, are you worried that your own credibility is going to go down, that this has become so toxic, you guys don't even speak to each other anymore?
No, I think we still speak to each other. We're still interacting on the floor. We are still trying to work this out. This portrayal that we're totally separate, we never interact, is not true. We are still trying to work some things out. But yes, I'm very frustrated. In fact, the president's speech last Monday night felt like, to me, he was saying, everybody go grab your pitchforks, run to a rich guy's house, and go take his stuff. because he's the problem or she's the problem. If they've got a jet, they're what's holding back the economy, and it's just the opposite. A lot of those people are the job creators, and they're the last people standing to be able to inject capital into the economy, and we're trying to go punish them. And then what do we have left? Now we have $14 trillion worth of sovereign debt, and we've just punished all the job creators. Now what?
But look who's getting punished when we start talking about peeling back the onion on cuts. I mean, Medicare recipients, right? I mean, Medicaid recipients. So where is there room for compromise? And what kind of cuts would you like to see that will actually make you sign the bill?
Well, I'm already onto the bill. I was on the bill yesterday, in fact. And so for me, I'm on this Boehner bill to be able to send it over and say, let's look at the two things that they wanted on the Democrat side. That is the spending cuts, and also this select committee that they wanted from the Democrat side. And two things that we want to be able to get accomplished. That's a balanced budget amendment and then statutory caps. That felt a lot like we're trying to get two parties to be able to work this out to me, until it really got real toxic early on in the week and they decided, no, we're not going to do it. So this was an agreement that was made that was bipartisan originally, and then at some point the Dems decided they were going to walk away from it and say, no, never mind. So that's the frustrating thing on this one. Everybody's saying, why aren't you guys working this out? We are working this out.
Give me your take. The president said that, you know, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we will face a downgrade. What are the implications of a downgrade of the creditworthiness of the United States?
Yeah, they're serious. I mean, everybody's going to go through the list, whether it be interest rates, whether it be our ability to be able to get capital, whether it be basically the debt that I've talked about so much with $14 trillion. That's counting on $220 billion of that being an interest payment. If our interest goes up just a little bit on it, that moves up rapidly to $500 billion to $1 trillion, and then we're really racing even faster than we already are adding debt. And every time we take on more debt as a country, more sovereign debt, we're pulling that out of other investments. So we're slowing down investment economy because we're requiring more debt for our nation. So we've got to get out of that cycle so that capital's not coming into sovereign debt, capital's going into the market, capital's going into starting new businesses where it can actually do something for the economy. We're sucking the economy dry right now. That's the cycle we've got to get out of.
Absolutely, and all of this uncertainty is probably going to show up in the next GDP report. No doubt, we are, people are stopping any decision making and
right.
putting it off. So
well,
walk us through the process. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, let me say this. I feel like the last week and a half, the president's been trying to hang the credit ratings onto the House Republicans, when if you look back at the report that even came out today about GDP, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, this economy was slowing down dramatically. So while he's trying to hang this around our neck because it's the news of the day, this economy has been just creeping along.
Right.
And this one event, I am quite sure, is slowing down capital as businesses waiting to see to invest in what interest rates are about to be in 2 weeks. I understand this is slowing it down, but this has been going on for a while.
Real quick, Congressman, walk us through the process. Do you have the votes needed to get this bill passed? And it's going to happen tonight at the vote at 6 o'clock? And then when would you feel ready to bring it to the president? I mean, are you going to make it by Tuesday is the bottom line.
Yeah, we sure hope so. We wanted to have this vote several days ago. In fact, we wanted to have this several weeks ago. The original plan was we passed cut, cap, and balance a couple of weeks ago. We were anticipating the Senate would pick it up, would debate it. If they had other ideas, they would amend it and send it back to us. Instead, they didn't even debate it, didn't do anything, and it just sat there. And so for another week, everybody's saying, okay, who's going next? The way this typically goes is the House does something, sends it to the Senate amends it and sends it back, and we try to conference. They rejected that, wouldn't even conference.
But we already know, we heard from the Senate side. They said it's dead on arrival. So why are you wasting time doing this if it's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate?
Because what bill are they debating? They have not dropped their bill yet. We're still at this point. What other bill is out there? Like I said, typically you have a bill here, it sends it over there. If they have a problem, they amend that bill. They make those changes and they send it back. They chose not to do that, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why they wouldn't choose to send it back, especially this close. At this point, we'll pass this bill tonight. We'll send it to the Senate. Hopefully they'll pick it up. If they have questions and issues, amend it, and then be able to send it back in enough time for us to be able to take this on.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, of course, we are watching with bated breath, and we will see you soon. Thanks very much for your time. We'll be following the developments closely.
Well, we will too.
We appreciate it. Congressman James Lankford of Oklahoma joining us. The markets lower today.